First of all, I just want to say thank you for spending your lunch hour with us and listen to our keynote speaker, Dirk Charlie. I'm Emily Alejandrino. I work for the California Department of Water Resources in the Climate Change Program, and I'm also a tribal liaison. So today it's my pleasure to introduce you to Dirk Charlie. I've had the pleasure to work. I've known Charlie through the years, and I have to say he is so if I had one word to describe you, connector. He's definitely a great connector in connecting people together, getting the information to the right audience. Definitely he's a big advocate of collaboration and building relationships, which are definitely, key attributes to have in this water management planning sector. So Dirk Charlie is a tribal liaison from the Dunlap Band of Mono Indians, and he serves as the point of contact for tribal cultural resources. He has the knowledge and the skills in this field through his diverse career in the USDA Forest Service. He has wildland firefighting, fuels reduction, and prescribed fire experience. And Dirk enjoys working with the North Fork Mono Tribe's Cultural Resources team that specializes in culture burning and meadow restoration projects. Dirk is also a US Navy Vietnam veteran. And so with that, Dirk, go ahead. With that, go ahead, Dirk.
My friends, thank you so much, everyone, for your valuable time today, giving me an opportunity to share as much knowledge as possible, while I'm here with you right now, today. And I'll do everything I can to help you out in regards to how I do partnership building and collaborate with folks. Again, being a retired Forest Service, I have a lot of connections, whether it be in fire, or human resources, small business development, tribal connections. Those are the types of things I bring to you in this presentation. I can't make you all experts, but I can give you a burst of information, executive briefing type, that can help you in your future endeavors. And that's a picture of me across the field in Dunlap. And this is where I learned how to fish and swim. This is where I used to go into the big potholes and use my grandmother's winnowing basket and take out basketfuls of minnows. Back when there was more water, back when there was more fish. And fortunately for us, they're still there, but it's because of good neighbors taking care of the water upstream. But anyway, let's continue. Next slide, please. So building partnerships and opportunities for collaboration from my perspective. Here, I got a perspective of me looking south into the Kings River Canyon. And this is the land of the Wobunut, Chintabich, Choinumbi people. And this is where my people hail from. This is a picture taken after the Rough Fire in 2015. This was in March 2016. And look how the land recovered. All the ugly brush fields and dead and dying stuff, all gone. But look what it's been replaced with. Lots of vegetation, more water, beautiful flowers. Fire is a good thing, used in a good way. Again, it's all about water and it's all about access. Next slide. So perspectives I'll be sharing today is from myself as a Mono Yokut warrior. I'm a former tribal secretary, former I should say, but I'm also, in regards to the inadvertent discovery, I'm one of the alternate most likely descendants. I learned a lot in my 38 years with the Forest Service, not just as a tribal liaison, the position I left at in 2016, but all the other jobs I did, again, as a public servant, giving you the best information as far as from a public affairs officer's perspective, HR specialist, I'm an employee champion, but management advocate, and a civil rights officer, hey, making sure everybody has the opportunity to participate. And but as a former hotshot crew foreman for Horseshoe Meadow Hotshots, I'm a line scout. I'm the guy you send out way ahead out, or I get dropped off in lonely areas on Earth ahead of the fire, making sure that we do the best of the best in regards to knowing the strategy and tactics we're going to need to take. And then I work with helicopters quite often, and I like seeing things from the air. And then also as a small business owner, operator, we used to have an Italian deli coffee shop, and that gave me the real life experience of what it's like to run a business, especially when all the profits and all the money is coming out of my pocket, but also running the people in a good way as far as workforce development and coaching. It was a very rewarding experience, lots of work. And then also as an executive director for a nonprofit, how do you get the monies? You're always out on the search looking for monies, never a dull moment when it comes to grants and opportunities to market your business. And then I'm very proud of my work I'm doing with the Honorable Chairman Ron Good, North Fork Mono Tribe. I'm part of his cultural resource team, kind of like a foreman, safety first type of thing, but I like working with the land. We see results and we're not tied up too much with the bureaucracy part of it. But anyway, I got a big day on Friday where we're going to do our cultural burning prep work and have that all ready to go in February and March. But I do have some important perspectives to share. And this will be mainly from my experiences on the Dixie Fire and the K&B complex, which is most recent. I learned a lot, and I want to share some of the good stuff that I learned. Next. So building partnerships with who, what, when, where, how, and why. It's all about the water, as I was saying, my friends, and access to those waters. Those are sacred areas and places that grow food, gather, recreate, a lot of swimming here. But we also want to make sure we take care of the land in a good way, especially the water for future generations. And sometimes it's very important to partner up. It could be formal, it could be informal. Again, I'm sharing my resources with you, you're sharing your resources with me. Hey, why don't we talk about that? And I'm very proud to see the action-packed agenda that has been talked about so far, but how do you put those into place? It's up to the people. You're working together, you got to know each other, and that's where the who comes in. And then what, why and when and where are we doing this? Well, because of a need. And I'm telling you, with disasters know no boundaries. But we need to be prepared to share resources in partnership fashion as a need arises. So again, this is called the Falls, and this is Dunlap Mono Swimming Hole. Next. Disaster knows no boundaries. We're going to need each other to help recover. What happened up on the Dixie Fire? This is an aerial view that I took when I got an aerial recon of the fire. Huge fire, incredible. But anyway, when I took this picture, it was with the knowledge of what we're going to do to help the Dixie Fire recover and as far as suppression and repair. And I was there for 35 days and I saw the destruction a couple of days after when the fire moved out across here. And my heart goes out to the people that were impacted and all their homes and all their properties that were impacted. And working with the tribes, the Maidu people, they'll come back. They'll come back in a good way. But for the communities, how it upset them economically, socially, they're still in the recovery phase. And so if we can partner up, and they're doing it now in a good way. Very smart people up there. They're looking at these partnerships and what they can do to bring in the funds, the necessary resources to help them rebuild and rebuild strong. Rebuild like the next slide will demonstrate. And rebuild through strong partnerships. They will rise again. This is what the entranceway, the front, as you went to visit Greenville Rancheria, their tribal office. This is what was left. And their eagle, that's their strength, that's their spirit, and they'll rise again. They will, and I'll be part of that to help them. And but as a partner and everything, they have my my loyalty and my dedication. I have a feeling I'll be back up there again to work together to help them with their recovery efforts. Next slide. They live in a beautiful land where water is their most precious resource. But water is our most precious resource everywhere. I mean, we have the mighty Kings River and all the streams that go through that, and the Kauai River. And those areas and those watersheds were impacted by the K&P complex up in the Sequoia Kings Canyon and Sequoia National Forest area. But when I went up to the Dixie Fire, I was able to finally see daylight after many days of just smoke and ash, and it was very sad. But when I did get a chance to go up to Mount Huff and get a big time perspective and a view, it made me even more I'm more, how do you say, empathetic to the people and all the good things that they have here. You know, the fire burned up to the edge of this beautiful site that I'm sharing here with you. But if I can do everything I can to help the Maidu people recover in a good way and take care of such beautiful resources, we'll do that. But it's all about the water, my friends. That's Indian Valley in the background. Next slide. So the water and the land, it needs our protection and combined resources to help take care of. So these partners in this particular picture, we're at Tasmam Koyom, a very sacred area, a very important area for the Maidu Summit Consortium, which is a combination of tribes and organizations. And with me is the Dixie Fire Agency representatives, agency administrators that came from afar, district rangers, forest supervisors, people that lent their expertise on how to work together and give the best advice and counsel to the tribes about what can we do to protect their lands and bring it back in a good way. As you can see the fire damage in the background there. But that Dixie fire was incredible. I've never seen anything like that. But the water still flows. We're going to help them, and the forest, the Plumas, the Lassen, the park, the Lassen Volcanic National Park. They're working together with the tribes, and they're going to again partner up to take care of it in a good way. But I appreciate the tribal leaders, tribal elders in this picture, and all the Forest Service experts that came through about, hey, here's how you can do it, or you may want to consider and on contributing and offering their advice, as good partners do if they want to see it succeed in a good way. Next slide. So partnerships begin through those personal introductions, right? I never met you before, but hey, hi, nice to meet you. Where are you from? What are you doing here? But when you work with like-minded people and they have a shared interest, you know, our workers and our volunteers, and I devote my time, you know, you're devoting your time. These are things that you seize the moment on. It could be done at your office, or it could be done at the project site like this, or at an incident command post. You know, either way, it's important. So you meet like-minded people, good people. We're all of the same mind. We're going to take care of the land. We're going to take care of our water. And then you go to places like this and see, well, what's already been done? Well, look at these beautiful check dams, beaver dam type things, but look at the fire impacts in the back. They still need help, okay? We're going to need help to take care of this vast area that puts out a lot of water, but it's very near and dear to the Maidu people. And if it's near and dear to them, then it's near and dear to me. And it's near and dear to the forest landowners, the forest administrators. That would be the Lassen National Forest. The lands that are burned there would be on their lands. So as a public servant, Forest Service tribal liaison, you know, I was already thinking about like, what can we do to take care of that in the background? So those are the types of things though that we have a shared interest. It was a common threat, the fire, but it's also left a concern on the lands. We're going to do everything we can to work together in a good way as good partners. Next. So here at the Dixie Fire Incident Command Post, I would invite the tribal citizens to come work with the agencies, Forest Service, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and all the other partners that are involved in stopping the fire, okay? So anyway, my job as a liaison, as a good partner, as a good contact, I deliver and share valuable reference materials. You ask me, I'll try to make happen with big maps, not no little bitty maps and everything, don't depend upon electronic stuff. You have, people want to see something in writing. They want to be able to point out, they want to circle and highlight, they want to indicate and emphasize, and they want stuff that is timely. They want to get the latest, greatest information. Like, for example, where's the fire at now? Where's the thing? Where's the perimeter? This fire was advancing like at 8 miles a day, 11 miles, 18 miles, 13 miles a day. I've never seen anything like that, but it was powerful. Again, incredible force. But all the more important is to give the tribal community and the community members timely updates and get them something in writing if you can. But seize the moment. It could be a golden opportunity to lend some timely help with supplies and equipment. And this is where these two representatives from the Maidu Summit Consortium, they came to the incident command post. I gave them some maps, and Trina Cunningham and her associate there, they benefited greatly because they took that to the tribal community and they were able to bring that up in a good way. Next slide. So when I go to these fire assignments, wherever I go to, or it could be a project, I try my best to understand and gain orientation of the history of their lands, their travel routes, their unique transportation systems and unique geography. So going up the Feather River on August 11th at night, it was very dangerous to travel Highway 70, and rolling materials, smoke. It was like driving through the fog. But I came there with the full intent to lend a hand. But I also was realizing and understanding, like, I'm going into the land of the Maidu and the mighty river that flows through their lands and everything. I was already preparing myself spiritually, but also logistically about learning more about this incident and my role and responsibility to lend a hand in a good way. Next slide, please. So I work for the incident commander, tribal liaison. That's a overhead position. So I meet the bosses. Most of the time, I'm very fortunate through my career, I know the bosses. So it's already a friendship, and I'm going to get their cooperation from their team because they're like, oh, good, you're here. We're glad you're here. So I work closely with the agency administrators, so I'm getting thank yous from forest supervisors and district rangers for being there. But I'm also teaming up with the incident management team liaisons. They are my best friends. They are the people who have the connections already that I need to, hey, do you know that sheriff? Or I need to talk to PG&E, or I need to work with this American Red Cross function. This is already in my mind when I get there, because when I get there, I need to have the best information so that when I contact, communicate, and coordinate with tribes, groups, and organizations, I have the best of the best information. And this particular slide just shows myself with Les James and Bill Tucker of the Southern Sierra Miwok, and then also working with North Fork Rancheria and Yosemite National Park and the resource advisors on the Ferguson fire up in Yosemite in 2018. But we're looking at maps, we're understanding best information that they need, and again, being patient and talking about it in a good way. Next slide, please. But you got to have the best information to begin collaborating and coordination efforts. So I take it out on the road. We go share information at the Indian powwow. This is Indian Fair powwow. This is the traditional dancer, Jose and I. We got together and I asked him, hey, how about a picture? This would be great going out in Indian country. Fire information. So again, I need to give information there, but they're also providing information back to me about, hey, have you guys checked on this watershed or this sacred area or this gathering area? Aha, nope, but we will. Next slide. So in this slide, I want to emphasize the importance of important people that are important to the tribes. Here I'm with Danny Manning, Maidu, Assistant Fire Chief of the Greenville Rancheria Fire Department. When the fire came through Greenville, it burned the tribal office, the dental, the health clinic. It burned their fire engine station, their everything. So my job was to lend help to Danny, because why? This is a tribal emergency. and he needs everything I can do to help him and his crew and others staff up and get their gear ready and commit to the firefighting effort. So we're here at Quincy at the fairgrounds at the supply area, and I'm getting the gear that the tribe needs, because we were utilizing this for to protect their housing and all their rancheria efforts and everything. And Danny's the assistant fire chief, and I work for him, and I work in a good way to make sure he gets everything that they need. Next slide. So the Central Valley Emergency Tribal Emergency Management Summits, we did 3 of these in 2016, 2017, and 2019. And the reason why we skipped a couple of those days because it was such an intense fire season, but still it goes back to our priorities of what we listed as a tribal people when this was a tribal sponsored summit back in 2016. Our first one was held on the Tule River Indian Reservation, but we had the tribes of the Southern Sierra Nevada, ranging from the Miwok people, Merced River, all the way down to Kern River, to Matalabo people, and Tule River Indian Reservation, and Dunlap Anamono, and Big Sandy Rancheria. But we wanted to be, our priority was to build a multi-agency cooperative interaction and networking. And we want to promote an atmosphere of learning. And I have experiences, and so does this other tribal person, and we have resources to benefit the whole community. Okay, not just tribal, but our neighbors. And then do it before, during, and after disaster. But we want to bring tribes and external partners together in cooperation ahead of time, achieve a greater understanding of tribal cultural and spiritual values, both past and present. But in order to build preparedness and response and recovery action plans, they serve all tribes, not just federally and non-federally recognized. It doesn't matter, they're our neighbors, our brothers, and our sisters. We're going to help out. So relationship building, partnerships, right? Tribes and partners, we work together to plan for challenges local tribal communities may face in a disaster, not just fire, but COVID, okay, drought and earthquakes. But we want to be able to learn together so we can utilize our smart people on these councils, or members and citizens. They could be elders, and they could be, you know, the Boy Scouts, they can be the local store owner, they could be the local business owner, coffee shop. But we need to teach each other how to work together during evacuation, and then bring in knowledge. You know, this is my property, we could use that for a temporary safety zone. Okay, I live in Dunlap, got a ranch up there. But anyway, when I'm doing this though, I'm constantly networking. Again, that small business owner perspective in me comes out. I'm trying to meet people ahead of time so I can know where am I going to go to set up my concession stand cart to sell some mighty tasty espresso drinks or cold drinks, but also to also know, like, hey, in the event of a disaster or something happens here, where do I have an escape route? Because I got employees here, I got to care for their safety and welfare. But those were our priorities and objectives way back then. And you know what? We know how to act in a, we've demonstrated how to work together through the years. I mean, I'm showing 2016, but 2017, we had the railroad fire. 18, we had the Ferguson fire. 2019 was an even more challenging time, but the Creek fire from last year, Dixie fire and KNP complex this year, Castle fire, all of these have came into play. But, you know, we remember our training. We're not strangers. The sheriffs know us. The California Air National Guard, they know us. The CAL FIRE folks know us. You know, Forest Service, they know us. So we're not strangers. But it took us 5 years to work on that, and we're going to get even better. Next slide. So as partners, you fall into this particular graph. It shows you where you stand at, okay, as far as like your organization, who you might have to work with, local government, the media, the people that you do how do you say, if you have a business, you know, you have a marketing plan, right? Therefore, you're probably tying into the media. But disaster response operations, that could be with business owners, you know, utilities, you're dealing with the Highway Patrol, local sheriffs, Office of Emergency Services. with the fire operations part of it, you may have employees or you may have friends that are located on Forest Service or CAL FIRE or some kind of fire crews and everything. So this is where I come in. When you look at the middle, it says IMT, Incident Management Team. Just to the right of that, it says liaison. That's me. I work right there. I go where the action is because action needs to happen. And I'm a 24/7 kind of guy. I work 16 to 18-hour days. It doesn't matter. Am I helping the community? Am I fulfilling my role as a good public servant? Next slide. So I'm a line scout. I don't mind walking. I go out there because I need to know and I need to see myself. I can see maps, I can see pictures, but you know what? I need to go out there and I need to gain all my safety information and briefings at these day and night shift briefings. Or I go to the planning meetings so I can understand what's going to happen with the weather. I need to understand about access, the roads opened up, evacuation order, evacuation warning. But I gain a deeper understanding of the incident action plans. And these are the types of things I share with Indian country. Or if a member of the public stopped and asked me, hey, what do you know about this? I'm the guy. I can tell you right now, but here's where you can get even more information from our public information office and everything. And again, I'm a good partner. I know people. So that's me strolling to a impacted area on the creek fire, but it's going into a drainage area where we're figuring out how do we unplug all of that down and dead fuel that fell into the stream. We're still working on it. Next slide. So when I say working on it, I mean working in a very collaborative, trusting manner with federal, state, city, county, local, and actually, with the tribes and territorial governments within that area, along with the emergency managers from higher education, whether they be somebody representing a college, elementary school, but Department of Defense comes in there. They have valuable resources we need to transport people. They know how to do it. The private sector, guys like me, others on this call, American Red Cross, who are you going to call? Any kind of public health and volunteers, especially with the COVID stuff, things changed. How we interact, what we do, resources that we need to have. It's impacted the whole world, all of us. But you start out as a good human and you want to introduce and sustain already established relationships. But first things first, who are you? And I like to be thought of as a very helpful, friendly resource, wanting to know more about how I can help you or any issues, concerns, opportunities. So, I like to meet people, so I go out and I contact people and I contact the right people. And I need guys like Danny Manning. When I went up to the Dixie Fire, him and Sheena Cunningham, they gave me a list of people I should contact, people in different geographic areas, people that maybe there's a change in tribal councils. They recently had elections. Oh, that helps. And that person is on that list that the Forest Service gave me, right? That person passed away recently. So, okay, out of respect, you don't want to, you want to contact the right people, right? In a respectful manner. But one way or another, be ready for the change. And that's vice versa too, right? As an organization, things change, your contact list change, your websites change, your menu might change. But anyway, you have to go and be ready for that yourself, but you have to go and reconnect. And that's okay. We need that updated information November 10th, 2021. But you have to go out. You'll have to travel and you have to have some courage, okay? Don't be afraid of people out there. You don't know them until you go meet them. And anyway, just go out there respectful, neutral, unbiased, but be ready to communicate in a good way. Next slide. So as a tribal liaison, and then your own organization might have a liaison designated within it. But when I go to these fires, I'm ready to insert myself on behalf of the people because they might not be available. They might not have no idea of a public meeting or a training session or a webinar like this because maybe they don't have maybe the communications tower they were depending upon from Wi-Fi got melted, or their house burned up, or they're not used to the internet and everything, and they need a boost, opportunity to help. So, but if I know if it's something important to them, and I'm in a room with 40 partners and there ain't no tribal reps there except for me, well, I will interject. I will provide a tribal voice in planning and operations. I don't, it's not a decision-making type of voice, but I will let them know that this is an area of importance, and my partners would want me to say something on their behalf. But you got to stay engaged once you're in the role, because remember, in my role, I perform a public service, doing my best. It's emergency management. And, but I try to provide an understanding of whom we're working with. Where are they located? That's why I like maps. I like to be able to point out like this tribe here, this tribe there, this tribe here, this tribe there, this tribe on the other side. And I explained what's special to them. Well, you know, it's usually involving water, and it's usually involving access, and it could be their gathering area, medicinal plants and everything. You know, you got to be careful when you explain stuff like that. I try to tell them culturally sensitive, very important. It could be a burial grounds and everything. That's the last thing you want to impact. What's more sacred than that? So when you consider the special and unique aspects of your ancestral homelands, it could be something that's found just here. It's not found anywhere else. It's only in the whole world. It's found right here, and that's where the KNP complex with the giant sequoia groves that were impacted. That's in my ancestral homelands. That's where my people are. That's where I have an obligation to care for these giant spirits. Nowhere else in the world, just in and around this area, this special part of the world. So you, as a collaborator, you need to do your own analysis and research about where you're working at. You know, you want to partner up, learn a little bit more about it. How does it tie into projects already in? Because you might want to get involved in this. Well, good, because why? They need you. We actually are short in that area. We do need that type of resource, or whether it be human resources, or it could be mechanical, or it could be funding, or it could be lending of materials. Next slide. Up on the Dixie, we brought in the Santa Ynez Chumash 801 crew. And these guys are like the special operations of firefighting. Okay, so I had Quinton there, and if you look at the picture, I'm on the left looking at the screen. With me is Quinton, the captain, and Danny Manning, the Maidu. So we've got Mono, Yoka, Chumash, Maidu, along with a mix of great people that are resource advisor firefighters. That's what a reef is. But here we are on the Dixie fire, and we're doing our best to put a stop to this fire. And what these crews lent to us, though, was ideas and techniques, strategies that might be very useful in handling some of the fire impacts or suppression impacts. So pay attention to these partners. They're only here for 21 days, but they're helpful suggestions. Note them, okay? Because that's a good idea. They brought that up, they saw, and they're lending an idea that they see had worked ideally in another area. As a good partner, pay attention to that. Next slide. So these sacred places and gathering areas, they'll need your help as partners to take care of in the future. Here we are in the KNP complex on the southern end of the Sequoia National Park, and you could see where the fire burned down into the drainage of the Kuya, but it could have impacted some of these ancient pictographs that are in the one of the slides. I'm giving the thumbs up for, because good, it wasn't burned, it wasn't impacted. And I was training some crews from Colorado area about what we need to do to protect hazard reduction. Let's remove this, let's scrape a line there, because behind us, you can see the fire perimeter backing down the hill. And that was something that was very important to me, was to go check on these. So again, you have to physically go to these places, and you have to take the time to go do it, and always done in a heads up safety attitude also. Next slide. It's all about cooperation. When you work with Indian people, you know, when you work with vegetation management, you know, tree products are beneficial to humans. And here is a really cool slide that Kat Anderson was sharing at a Yosemite National Park sustainability presentation. I love this slide. And then it shows a California Indian woman. Here's a human tending beneficial, you know, do it in a good way that it's beneficial to the tree, beneficial to lands, because look what the tree puts out, you know, the leaves, the fruit, the galls, the branches, you know, all the burls, the trunk, what fungi and sprouts come out of that. But we do it by pruning and knocking to remove the dead and drying wood. That's what I'm going to be doing on Friday with Ron Good and the rest of the North Fork cultural team. And we're going to weed. We're going to do prep work so our piles don't get away. And then we're going to burn to decrease, you know, insects and diseases and any other encroaching vegetation. We're going to go thin it out. But this is a good slide I wanted to share with everybody about all the good work and all the good thoughts that, you know, we need to cooperate on, because we have multiple complex roles as a user, protector, and a benefactor. And I never forgot about this slide. And I want to thank Kat Anderson for showing and helping acknowledge, well, share that type of knowledge, you know, so I can be a better person. Next. So here I am at Indian Rock. It was last Tuesday, and I'm looking over the Upper Kings Canyon down into the North Fork of the Kings River. This is where I'll be at next Monday on a field trip to look at some of the impacts and some of the water and everything issues that we have going on up there. But these are the types of things that I'm doing when I think about partnerships and collaboration, kind of a burst of information. I hope this helped, at least makes you think about it, but let's continue to pray for the safety and welfare of the people still working these fires and the suppression repair. There's a lot of dead trees out there. There's a lot of road hazards. Things aren't the way they used to be. You're gonna let Mother Nature recover, let the Creator take care of our lands, but one way or another, as a partner or as a collaborator, maybe you can be part of the solution to come help the land recover in a good way. Ask your local National Forest, Park Service, CAL FIRE, or organizations that are working in these impacted areas. I'm sure they could use your help. That's it for my portion of it. Questions, comments?
Tommy, is that all right if we ask questions live, or did you want us to put it in the chat? Is it okay if we turn cameras on and?
Sure, that's a great idea.
Yeah, you're good. I've enabled everybody to come on air. Just do me a favor so we don't overtalk each other. Raise your hand, and then you can come off air. But everybody can unmute. You can turn your videos on, and I'll stop sharing the screen here.
Great. Thank you.
So it looks like we have a question from Graham. So Graham, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dirk, for inspiring words and perspectives. I'm wondering if you can share any tribal perspectives on groundwater, since this Flood-Mar initiative is focused on groundwater, or that, you know, that hidden underground water. Are there tribal perspectives on the wisdom of preserving that might be of interest here?
You know, Graham, I always ask people, where does your water come from? Okay. And if it's for like the Central Valley, Southern Sierra area, Dixie Fire area, Butte County, it comes from the headlands. So if you take care of the forests, we take care of those upper watersheds and everything, then I think that'll allow a lot more water to come down into the valley floor and bring up the water table for the groundwater
Mhm.
supplies and the source that we're going to need. So for Indian country, we want more and more help to come up to the mountains where a lot of us are. A lot of our practices and techniques, things that we're doing to create more water, like meadow restoration efforts and everything. Graham, that's my point. That's why I'm doing these cultural burning efforts at the various strategic locations throughout the Sierra and Sequoia, because there is a need to take care of the meadows. I wish they would invest more money to do the meadow restoration, okay? Because otherwise, we're trying to get more water to come downhill into the valley where the groundwater is. I'm a big promoter to take care of the forest, you'll take care of your groundwater. Did that help?
Good points. Yeah, we might need to keep more water in the mountains if the forests depend more than we might understand on the water table up in the mountains. And some of us are concerned that with climate change, the soil moisture is going down along with the water table, and the long-term effects of that on the forests may be very difficult to manage or reverse. But I think you're right. Headwaters management, headwaters watershed management is critical.
Yeah, thank you, Graham. Again, I think fishery check dams, I worked on some of those, and my slides I showed you where we were doing like the beaver dams. Bring back the beavers. There's a place for them. I wish we'd see more out there, but human made check dams like I showed in that, I thought that was a great idea. And we're doing that up on the Sierra and Sequoia, and more of that is needed. But it takes physical labor, and try to use what available materials that you have here. But it does take partnerships and people to get it done.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Jenny, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your talk and being such an inspiring person. I really appreciated when you said a couple times, learn about where you're working, know where you're working, learn about the people who have lived in that land, where are their sacred sites, how do they move throughout the landscape, what do they prioritize, or what are they most connected to? And I think that's really important. And where do you start? If I'm going to work in an area, what references do you use? I mean, is it the people that you know, or there are resources that you're looking into, websites, books, where do you start when you're going to work into a new area, and being able to connect yourself to the communities that are there?
Jenny, be humble. Listen to people when they come up with you, or when they introduce themselves. They want to be listened to. They want to be heard. And once I get a little bit more information like that, then I'll go to a map. I'll go to an area about where are you talking about? Give me a little bit of area orientation. Then I could be patient, and I can be again, whatever I can do to just be a good listener and accommodate that. That's great. But I'm also asking other people. It's like, okay, I'm in Maidu land. I don't know this area. I know the towns, I know the roadways, but I don't know the area. And that's where having friends like Danny Manning and Trina Cunningham, it was a tremendous boost. Asking the local Forest Service employees about, hey, what do you know about? And by starting there, I was able to slowly but surely grow my knowledge level. It always done in a respectful, professional, friendly, courteous manner. And don't try to pry, and above all, don't cut them off. Or I would invite them. So I got to know a little bit more about them and everything. And working with the tribal community is something that for me is very very important, to be sensitive to their needs, culturally sensitive, but also ask them How would you do it? You know, what do you guys recommend? When they hear that, it's like, oh, good, we were just waiting for somebody to ask. Some of the things that I had to go through here was, again, the fire was moving at a rapid pace, and it was hard to make decisions and take into consideration of areas that they were concerned about because the fire was just outpacing us. We didn't have enough resources, but I had to come back and tell them is that, look, it's something that we're working on, but we're right into operational period. And for the Dixie fire, that was every day. But that's something that if I can work with the tribes and communicate with them in a good way, be humble, be patient, listen carefully, make sure that you saw you were being patient and listened, and you wrote things down. And I always gave them something to help them with. They never walked away without something from me that I got from the best of the best resource at that time. That's a start, Jenny. Again, the intent is, where is this at? So why? Well, I want to go there. I want to know. I'll drive. I'll go look. I'll go see. I'll smell. I'll touch. I can hear. This is why it's even more important. You got to go live on the land. You got to go experience it.
Kamiar, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Dirk, amazing presentation. My name is Kamiar Gavechi. I work with the Department of Water Resources and manage the Division of Planning. We update the California Water Plan every 5 years, and we've really been fortunate to engage and learn from California's Native American tribes in updating the last several iterations. You know, in your talk, you emphasize the importance of collaboration across different agencies, state, federal, local. And the topic of your talk being traditional and tribal ecological knowledge, what's been your experience about the receptiveness of different people you work with from different levels of government to take advantage or learn from TEK?
I'm very happy to share that people want to learn more. They want to hear. And I'm almost like an interpreter for a Forest Service, Park Service, CAL FIRE, whatever agency I'm dealing with. They're very receptive, and I hear that quite often. And I think it's maybe because they know me, and their peers, because they know them, are more likely and more willing to listen to me. And that's something that that's why sessions like this, and then working with tribes every day, I'm able to have our voice, have our perspective heard. And, you know, Kamiar, I appreciate working with you. I learned a lot in those when I was working with the Irwins doing tribal assessments. And you know, I use that in my firefighting perspectives and everything about anything dealing with water sources and everything. I have something to say when it comes to emergency management and where's the water sources? Where are you getting at? Can you show me where on the map you're getting this at? And then, you know, it's that type of thing. It's like, well, that's an area of tribal area of importance there, a concern. And a lot of the fire managers, operations side of it, they'll give me the time. And I'm always there to support the resource advisors. I'm always there to support the local forest or park leadership and everything. Again, but it's always been with respect, and they heard me. And it's encouraging for me to see like, oh, they took our idea. They did do our recommendation, and they're doing what the tribe wants. But now this is where the tribe can get in a little bit more and push it a little bit further, partnership perspective. So that's my, as of 2021 November, I have great hope for communicators like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great, and we actually have some time here for one more question, Dirk, and this is in our chat. The question comes from Abdul Khan. In terms of collaboration, could you speak to the Native American tradition of utilizing the talking stick to listen empathetically and build relationships after understanding diverse perspectives?
Having used that technique, communications in the past, you want to do that in a very humble way. It's something you're given an opportunity. Choose your words in a good way, with sincerity and goodness and happiness for all. Do it with an abundance mentality. If it's a good subject and you're happy, well, then I'm genuinely happy for you. If it's an issue, it's a concern, do your points, get your points across in a good way, but not hostile. Don't do it in a mean way. You have an opportunity to, if it's an issue, concern, a problem, it could be very controversial. But my friends, acknowledge it, but come forward with solutions, how it could be better. What would be a win-win if you can get that at all, okay? Most times you can. But when I have been given an opportunity to use the talking stick, it's with what first things first. Well, wow, that's a special moment. Therefore, I'm not going to miscommunicate to the best of my ability. But that has worked for me in the past, and it was an opportunity to deliver the best knowledge I have about a situation, and I did it in a good way, and people thank me for it. So if you're ever given that opportunity, my friends, don't pass it up. You can be heard. And one other thing, for those in the chat, if I didn't have a chance to respond to your question, I look forward to probably sorting that out and doing a little bit more, because it's part of the talking stick. I'm on a talking stick right now. So anyway, I want to be, kind of respectful and considerate about that. Okay. Did that help? I hope it answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. I don't see any additional questions to chat, but a lot of accolades, Dirk. So, and a hand clap. That was a great presentation.
Thank you. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate. I want to thank you for your patience with me and getting the information in there, because things are changing. Times, you can do a presentation, you think you had it like the best, and then I tuned into the KNP complex community meeting last night, and I heard their update about the latest greatest stuff from the burned area emergency repair updates. I've been waiting to hear that. And I've got more communications I have to do on behalf of my own knowledge, but I also want to relay that to the tribal folks. Like, we have opportunities here to, if they're going to restore it, why don't you restore it the Indian way? Hey, how about this? Or tell us a little bit more on time. But the main thing is that, tell me of the safety and hazards out there first, right? It's all about safety and hazards, but I need to go see, and I need to go to the water, and I need to go maybe check on, see good acorn planting over here, all the rest of the stuff that comes with the water. It's all about the water. Thank you very much, Emily, Jenny. Again, Romy, appreciate it. And everybody who dialed in, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Dirk. So I know we're transitioning. We basically have about 4 minutes on here. We're going to leave everybody in the room. You guys don't have to go anywhere. And Dirk, if you're able to, you're welcome to stay for our afternoon session. Let me share my screen. And then until we get started in those 4 minutes, you guys can continue to chat, use the chat with Dirk. I need to get Sharon on just to make sure her mic and everything is good. Also need to make sure I'm sharing my sound for our afternoon stuff.
Thank you, Tommy. And
yeah, go ahead, Ori.
Just want to say thank you, Emily, for leading the session and inviting Dirk. Really appreciate your words. Dirk, we've been working on the Floodmore Network, where we've been using the concept of give and get. And it was really validating to hear you say about how we need each other to recover from disaster, how important it is to come together towards a shared mission and purpose. I also heard you say that we are responsible for each other to make things happen, how important it is to learn about the place, about the people, making it personal, and courage. You said use courage. And so really appreciate your wisdom and sharing with us. So thanks for being here. And as Tommy said, we're gonna get started in a couple of minutes.
Sharon, if you're on, can you come on air and on camera just to make sure your audio is good?
Can you see me?
I can see you. Thank you for that. Let me just, for everyone, I'm just going to leave up. We don't have 4 minutes anymore, but I think we have 2. So I'm just going to start my little timer down there. And Sharon, I'm going to add you as a spotlight. There we go. So Orit will do introductions for you. And then I know you're going to be giving your talking session. So initially I'm going to have this slide up. Can you see the making connection slide just to make sure I have it correct?
I can.
Okay, awesome. And then when you start going into your talk, I will remove the slide and just have it to you.
Perfect.
Awesome. And your audio sounds great, so we're good. If we do have any issues, though, you know, first thing we'll do is turn the camera off and see if that corrects it. And then if not, then in the meeting request, it's the call-in number. But it doesn't sound like we'll need to do that, so I think we are good to go.
That's right. Let's not make that a foregone conclusion.
No, yeah.
Let's make
Exactly.
it so. Oh, I'm feeling inspired just listening to Dirk's last, segments around just connecting to the land. I'm an ecologist by training, and sometimes I forget that I actually can do that as much as I love to.
Hey, welcome, Sharon. And actually, I think the two of you kind of following each other is really a very nice way for us to end our forum. So
well, thank
we'll
you.
start in just a minute.
I'll take my timer down. We're at 2 o'clock. So, and
Right.
yeah. So Orit, if you want to wait another minute, otherwise we'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm going to get started. We've had full 2.5 days, starting with the network and thinking about partnerships and collaboration and the people that are coming together. And then we spent yesterday, full day of more technical conversations. And we wanted to really come around. Today we had resources that we can leverage and use. And we wanted to kind of come around and bookend it with coming back to the people. And so it seems incredibly appropriate to have heard from Dirk Charlie about connections and come to you, Sharon, and hear from you a little bit. I'm going to introduce our speaker, our last speaker, Sharon, and then after her talk, we will have some time for Q&A, and then we wanted to spend some time in breakout and coming back to that question of, given the time that we're all invested in each other, learning together, what opportunities for collaboration and partnership have you discovered during the forum? We've heard throughout these connections where somebody said, oh, I'm going to follow up with you, I'm going to follow up with you, and want to give people an opportunity to come back to that. Welcome, Sharon. Sharon Farrell is the Executive Vice President of Projects, Stewardship and Science with the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy. Ms. Farrell has worked for more than 30 years as an ecologist, park and community planner, and project manager. She has a background in vegetation management, restoration ecology, and natural resources planning. Her work scales regional, state, and national levels through facilitating collaborative cross-boundary landscape stewardship networks. And I think there's more information on your bio, but I want to give the floor to you.
That's okay. If you keep going, I'll feel older. So it's fine to stop
This is
there.
Thanks for
Well,
joining us.
absolutely. And I know probably at the end of 2.5 days of being on Zoom, it's a lot to be able to listen to one more speaker. So I hope in the next 15 to 20 minutes, I can bring home some of the things you've talked about. So, but I want to just begin with that. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to join your conversation today. And also just thank you for the work you do on a daily basis. From my work, I know how hard it is managing watersheds and water infrastructure in partnership. It can be a complex and challenging task. Today, what I hope to do is convey that why in this moment, working at a regional and landscape scale in partnership is more critical than ever, and that sustained success of this work is predicated on having a collaborative leadership mindset. So for me, my focus for the past 2 decades has been on leading project stewardship and science programs at the Parks Conservancy. And in my early career, I also worked as an ecologist for a decade with the National Park Service. So I understand, and I'm still learning about the complexity and need for an integrated and adaptive approach to managing land and water resources at a watershed and regional scale. As part of my work, I help lead a cross-boundary partnership in Marin County called WANTAM, which focuses on regional resource stewardship. Our work includes climate adaptation, habitat restoration, groundwater recharge projects, plus forest health and resilience planning. And we're now in our 8th year, and we're continuing to grow our network's shared purpose. And in a time of drought, like probably many of you, we're discussing issues of water use and maintaining conveyance systems. Lastly, I also facilitate the California Landscape Stewardship Network, and it's a volunteer-led network of networks, and it focuses on growing the pace, the scale, and the practice of cross-boundary environmental stewardship. A little background on the network itself: it was conceived in 2016, and today involves approximately 34 cross-boundary partnerships focused at landscape scale work across about 40% of the state. We share and advance our work through facilitating peer exchange, convenings like what you're doing today, white papers, and working with state, regional, and local leaders. While the benefits of undertaking stewardship at scale are significant, which I think we could all agree, if not essential, working at scale is complex and comes with complications. The complexity of different landowners, the complexity of different policies, different cultures, and often limited resources, coordination, and capacity to support collective goals. We embrace this work within the California Network, and our mission is centered around how to shift paradigms and systems and practices and culture to reduce these obstacles and complications and forge new solutions. Our participants seek to find new ways that enable us to work more easily and with a greater pace and scale. You know, when I think a lot about networks, and for me, fundamentally, networks and collaboratives are human-powered endeavors, right? Each of us involved in partnerships likely experience what it means on a daily basis. And we can think of these networks as webs of relationships connecting people or things to address complex social and environmental issues. What we're seeing around the country is a growth in these networks, like Floodmore, bringing together individuals and organizations for shared learning and coordinated action. They provide a transformational way of working together across typical boundaries that often hold us back. And they offer a collaborative, a more equitable infrastructure and provide flexible organizing systems that can span regions and organizations and silos. This role of regional networks is not new. There's a growing emergence throughout the country requiring us to think and act in different ways. For example, President Biden's America the Beautiful initiative calls for landscape scale multi-benefit projects supported by community-driven goals as a necessary way to build climate resiliency, maintain biodiversity, protect water supplies, and restore ecosystem benefits and services. Biden's initiative continues with acknowledging that place-based regional networks are very likely the future vehicle to accomplish this. And as my colleague Michael Connell, who's on the steering committee of the network, says, regional networks can be the missing middle between state goals and local efforts. Regional networks can help integrate a variety of state goals into multi-benefit projects and ground them with local understanding. So recognizing all of this, I believe we're at an inflection point with our work. The way in which we approach surface, groundwater, and watershed management today is not and cannot be the way we approached it 50 years ago, 10 years ago, and perhaps even 2 years ago. As we look to address 21st century conservation and stewardship needs, we're seeing that success is not just about having small-scale projects and resources for implementation. It is also predicated on having the necessary leadership, systems, and community and political will at all levels. And given the growing impacts of climate change, working at that necessary scale requires us to look well beyond our boundaries, beyond our jurisdictions, and often beyond our own needs and comfort level. It's that last point, working beyond our own individual needs and comfort level, where I believe the practice of collaborative leadership is a necessary vehicle for change. When collaborative leadership is central to our collective work, I would argue that it improves the efficacy, increases durability, and expands our impact. When I began my work with WANTAM, which includes federal, state, regional, and local land managers, the partner executives initially struggled to define collective resource stewardship goals, those goals that transcended their individual needs and perspectives. At one point during the partnership's first year, when a leadership meeting stalled, then Park Service Superintendent Frank Dean shared that he was willing to have other partner projects receive the funding for their restoration projects first, as those were the highest priorities in that regional landscape. That was a turning point in the formation of this now 8-year-old collaborative. The conversation shifted from me to we. This turning point was critical in shifting how WANTAM looked at priority setting. It was a shift to looking at a larger geographic scale to meet the network's goals. Like many stewardship networks, WANTAM moved its work beyond site-specific, parcel by parcel, benefit by benefit approaches to the scale at which people and nature function: watersheds, habitats, ecosystems, water systems, and cultural landscapes. It unlocked its ability to undertake cross-boundary multi-benefit work beyond its initial scale of 53,000 acres to now more than 160,000 acres. Frank, like many other collaborative leaders, acknowledged taking care of the long-term health and resilience of our landscapes is a complex enterprise requiring a long-term investment, demonstrated commitment, and a collective perspective. It takes time and it takes intention. As the partnership evolved and matured, we recognized that we created an essential foundation for broadening our work. That foundation provided the partners with the confidence to leverage public-private funding and to complete a county-wide LIDAR and vegetation map, and more recently, a regional forest health and wildfire risk reduction plan under the state's RFFC program. Both of these recent efforts helped achieve state goals at a regional scale. This work also prompted the partnership to forge new connections with the state's Wildfire Prevention Authority and expand participation to now more than 30 community organizations. WANTAM's evolution demonstrates how regional networks can adapt, can integrate local and state goals, have complex purposes, and build connectivity with other local and regional networks to comprehensively address shared challenges. The approach that the WANTAM partners undertook in forming and building their partnership is like that of many landscape stewardship networks and represents a shift in process and a shift in governance. It acknowledges that traditional decision-making processes and organizational structures don't really scale up. Regional networks require working in new, collaborative, partnership-based approaches where traditional authority is replaced with influence and empowering rather than directing and commanding action. My work through the California Landscape Stewardship Network has further illustrated that having collaborative leaders like Frank is central to achieving sustained impact on the ground, whether watershed management, forest system resiliency, or sea level rise adaptation. This is further substantiated by a growing body of research. In WANTAM's partnership's 5th year, researchers published a report focused on the impacts that partnership had achieved. This included the unveiling of a new model for measuring impact, the partnership impact model. The research revealed that sustained collaboration requires high levels of trust and connectivity between partners and their larger networks. And it's only when these foundational impacts of trust and connectivity are met that outcome-based impacts, such as direct activities on the ground, can achieve scalable outcomes. This was another turning point in the 1TAM partnership. Executives recognized that building the partnership's capacity and continuing to evolve a shared culture was critical, and have since invested time, staffing, and resources to ensure its functionality and that every staff member sees themselves as a collaborative leader. 1TAM's story and impact doesn't stand alone. Stewardship networks of varying sizes are achieving impact throughout California and nationally. Networks like the North Coast Regional Partnership have become models for cross-cultural collaborative leadership focused on integrating water and land management needs at a regional scale. The North Coast Regional Partnership facilitates regional planning that seeks to integrate water resources, forest health, wildfire risk reduction, plus economic, tribal, and other social needs at a scale that aligns with the region's capacity and resources. Recently, the California Landscape Stewardship Network published a paper, Advancing Collaboration in California, to highlight and assess many of the efforts the state has already undertaken to advance collaborative landscape stewardship. While California leaders express strong support for working in this way, agencies and legislators are still seeking specific roles the state can play to activate and sustain work at a regional scale. This is where all of you continue to play a role. As Joanne Marquetta, Executive Director of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, recently shared during an interview, achieving landscape scale work is, in part, based on defining and implementing collective goals, and also in part, in investing in each of the partners' ability to successfully collaborate. And that's why these types of convenings and these networks are so important. This is the culture change needed, she said. This is the opportunity of collaborative leadership. In short, collaborative leadership is a process involving shared or joint power where no one person or group is in charge, and the mindset and practice needed to approach complex challenges. It is predicated on having underlying trust and humility. I imagine that you all might agree that it takes considerable energy to work at scale, to prepare or approve regional water management plans, to secure the necessary permits, and then to stage for and implement groundwater recharge and floodplain enhancement projects. Similarly, I have learned in my career, it takes considerable work to collaborate, and that successful partnerships are not passé. In a recently published paper, Together We'll Go Further, the Opportunity of Collaborative Leadership, myself and several colleagues identified and discussed 4 overlapping dimensions of collaboration. 1, systems thinking, 2, interpersonal skills, 3, process design, and 4, social and cross-cultural competency. We believe these are central to fostering collaborative leadership. We also acknowledge that there is a high need to develop shared tools, resources, and trainings around these dimensions in order to increase the impact and sustainability of stewardship and conservation partnerships across boundaries and sectors. This first dimension is systems thinking. We all function within systems that influence and affect us. These include ecosystems, socio-political systems, financial systems, governance systems, and many more. A systems thinking approach helps us see and better understand all of the relevant pieces, as well as the system as a whole. In so doing so, systems thinking builds understanding of relationships and their interdependency and the system dynamics that shape our interactions. These include important insights such as complex purpose or complex reciprocity. The second dimension is interpersonal dynamics and relationship building skills. The relationships we hold, both within and beyond our diverse organizations, are critical to our shared success. How we build and how we maintain those relationships, how we strengthen trust and connectivity, how we shape attitudes and culture, all require intention and can help us be successful in this dynamic, changing environment. As noted by researcher Dr. Amy Mickle, interpersonal behaviors are among the most influential factors for fostering or discouraging collaboration. Mickle's groundbreaking analysis suggests that there are 4 cornerstones which are key to building and strengthening collaborative connections and fostering successful collaboration. These are compassion, character, courage, and commitment. She asserts that increasing our knowledge and skills that lead to these behaviors is critical to supporting 21st century conservation and stewardship. The third foundation, process design and management, is really about the business of working in partnership. Successful collaboration helps us solve collective problems when it includes the right information, the right group of people, and the right process. Paying attention to all three of these and advancing a skill set around them is especially critical for those who play a role in organizing, convening, and facilitating collaborative efforts. This includes developing and advancing a skill set in facilitation, conflict wisdom, evaluation, and problem solving. While reliant on these critical skills, effective process design is often still a creative enterprise, where the focus is on designing the series of experience that can bring people together in new, productive, and meaningful ways. This is true for all of the work that you're undertaking today. The last dimension that we're focusing on is social and cross-cultural competency. This speaks to our underlying values in our work. As stewardship practitioners, we need to be more inclusive and equitable in advancing solutions with diverse audiences and participants around shared values. As we move from paradigms defined by individual sectors and silos to a collaborative approach defined by connections and relationships, we need to better understand the diverse communities with whom we share the long-term care of place. This involves perhaps some of the hardest work before us, raising our awareness and our understanding of social and cultural biases, digging into our history, origins, and current challenges related to diversity, equity, justice, and inclusion, and exploring ways to address deep political divides. This will require attention not only to our relationships, but also to our ways of learning, to the language we use to communicate, and our ability to engage in open and authentic communication with each other. Taken together, these four dimensions and the underlying principles, practices, and skills that they represent begin to provide a pathway that we can use to help realize the promise of collaborative conservation and stewardship. Many participants in the California Landscape Stewardship Network believe investing in and leading with these dimensions in mind is necessary to advance an important and undernourished part of our work and can help us achieve the community and conservation successes we envision. So in closing, as you bring your individual strengths, your organizational resources, and your unique perspectives to advance strategies and tactics to meet today's complex water management goals through collective action, I invite you each to do so with collaborative leadership in mind. Perhaps challenge your own thinking in doing so as you collectively create a shared vision and actions for moving forward. Thanks for your time. And I hope that that provided some context and thoughts around collaborative leadership and what's happening around the country and the state in working in practice in regional networks. Always let it went silent afterwards, right? You're not sure.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute for a second. I lost my voice, my Zoom voice. Thank you. Thank you so much for your inspiring remarks. As you started speaking, the one question that I think keeps coming to mind is that we have so much enthusiasm and expertise. And as we're thinking about our network that we've been developing this past year, come to mind the question of how do you keep things going? How do you keep things from fizzling out, because there's such urgency and importance. And I thought the 4 dimension that you just covered really spoke to that very nicely. But I think that is kind of an important thing. Every time you organize around something, how do you sustain it over time?
I agree. And, you know, I have a practice that I, every year and sometimes twice a year, will continue to ask, what value do we bring by working collectively? And the day that stops, that no one answers that question, I think it's okay at that point to say, then maybe we've met our shared purpose. So I feel as long as we continue to be able to identify and describe and participate in what that value is, that longevity will continue. And you know, that's one dimension, right? And then there's the burning out piece, right? Like I have a day job, I work in this organization. Now I have a second day job, I work in this partnership. And guess what? I have a third day job, I'm working now in a network. So how to temper and balance and how to constantly think about succession planning. You know, a lot of my work is hoping to grow emerging leaders in this work so that there's that constant conduit of that next generation of active participants in this work.
And Sharon, this next generation has been coming up every day of the forum, the importance of that kind of a continuity. But yeah, the re-anchoring and why we're doing this together, that comes periodically. And I think you mentioned evaluation as part of it, is are we still doing what we are meaning to be doing? And are we doing it in that give and get way that comes up? I'm going to open up and see if anyone has any questions or comments. Would love to hear from everyone. Especially I'm thinking about our network members. We've been thinking about who we are quite a bit and how we work together. This is a great opportunity to weigh in. Go ahead, Jenny.
I'll just come off mute and I'll let others ask questions or come up with questions. And so I'll stretch the time and just, I wanted to thank Sharon for her remarks. They are always inspiring to me and helping to coordinate the Floodmar network and really to try to bring a bigger, a different perspective. And I really appreciate that the pillar of systems thinking. And I think it came up in the chat a little bit after Dirk's presentation today and talking about forest management. And you wouldn't normally link forest management with talking about, Floodmar, which is more kind of valley floor strategies. And I think the more that we all have these conversations, the more we see we've got to think at this system scale, and it all fits together, and our strategies are at a watershed. And so I definitely appreciate you bringing in that systems thinking perspective. Not a question, but just a thank you.
Cam, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. It's always great to see you and continue to learn from you in all of your interaction with us. One of the points you brought up, well, certainly at that working at the regional scale seems to be the effective way to go. And you also noted that one of the challenges or things that we need to work on is how to engage government, state and federal government in working at that regional scale. So can you say more about maybe some successes or examples where government has been able to be an effective part of your network?
Sure, and I'll try to do it at different scales. So in the one that I currently lead with called WANTAM, we have federal, state, and regional governments, as well as a water district that are a part of that. And I think it goes back to the comment I made earlier about, what's the value proposition? So for them, they all manage lands. And they began to realize that they manage lands with a number of shared interests, a number of shared goals, a number of shared monitoring protocols. And so for them, the idea of being able to leverage each other's resources and to work at scale was one that was beneficial and one that they saw an opportunity to be able to not be redundant. And a lot of the public in our region doesn't think of different lands being owned by different agencies. They think of it as one continuous landscape. So that's kind of more on the ground. And again, it's predicated on working with that agency. Is there benefit? For example, a water district has an amazing water infrastructure, but also has some of the largest land holdings in our region. And so they were looking at how do you manage for a healthy forest with sudden oak death? How do you look at coho salmon stream restoration in areas where we have multiple benefits that we're managing for? And so bringing in ecologists from other agencies and also bringing in practitioners was just beneficial for that kind of cross-pollination to be able to undertake the work. You know, today's conversations, I think, for our network are happening at that state level, as you referenced. So one of the things we're trying to do is to shine lights on where we think that maybe changing the way in which we're approaching our work at a state level can all of a sudden unlock opportunity and increase the pace and scale of the restoration, or enable regional and local groups to be able to do more in partnership. You know, cutting green tape is one area where we're looking at regulatory efficiencies. I think one of the nuts we still want to crack is, as we work in partnership at a regional scale to achieve state goals, and we're trying to weave those all in together for multi-benefit, as you were alluding to, like you've got forest health, water resources, biodiversity, all these different goals, it takes capacity. So how do we work at the state level to build resources that enable regional networks to have collaborative infrastructure, meaning capacity, to participate as actively and to be that partner to weave in those statewide goals? So I think that, to me, the state agencies are a part of the solutions. And I think to me, it's going to take bold thinking of doing things differently and piloting new ways of doing. We are working in an environment now where our old practices of 50 years ago just don't work. And the scale of the complexity of the challenges we're facing just require new ways of doing. And I've really appreciated, you know, working with both yourself and Jenny, because I feel like you're bringing bold thinking and you're looking for new ways. I mean, whether it was, you know, originally like the Irwin model and now looking at new models, I just feel that, you know, being open to listening to regional needs, being able to adjust state systems and policies to reflect collective opportunity of working at multiple scales. That was a long-winded answer, but I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Thank you.
Any other questions from our participants before we move forward?
It looks like there's one in the chat about how can we illustrate the value of that approach, working, you know, the systems approach, which I'm assuming means, and correct me if I'm wrong if I make a poor assumption, you know, working in this kind of network capacity. You know, how do we work with our stakeholders? I mean, when I first worked to begin the One TAM partnership, I work in a community where there are incredibly active community organizations. In fact, there's probably more nonprofits, environmental nonprofits in this region than almost anywhere else per like square mile. And so when we formed our partnership and we were talking about working at scale, there were a number of groups that thought this was a way to get around governmental processes and public access to planning efforts. So there were a lot of concerns about what did this mean, where was local control. So we spent a lot of time, having lots of cups of tea to talk about our true intentions, and then also bringing other groups that were working in this capacity to meet and spend time with and talk with stakeholders who did have concerns, and to really understand what those concerns were. Was the concern around a change? Was the concern around the fear of not being able to participate? Was the concern, like there was concerns by a water district partnering with the federal government? Did that mean that big government was coming into a local environment and perhaps operating in a different way? So we had to really build trust and have those conversations about what it was we were trying to do, and then identify ways in which different stakeholders could be a part of those conversations and a part of the action that we were trying to undertake. So I think it's very specific to the culture of the area that you're working within and the concerns that are being expressed. But there are so many examples now, whether it's within this state, whether it's around the country, of where these efforts, many of them are community driven, are beginning to really take hold as a way to look at addressing solutions at a landscape scale.
There's another comment and question from Asia that relates to that fourth dimension that you spoke about with regard to social and cultural competency. And it's good to hear she starts her comment by saying that one of the things that she appreciates about the network is the friendliness and openness of the participants. But then thinking about how do we want to be more inclusive as you know, some people step in or step out of the network space, and how do we make sure that we have the right people there if they may have not heard of the network. So if you have any thoughts on how do we ensure that it remains inclusive over time?
Sure, I had a couple of things in that question, right? Like there's a familiarity and there's a culture that you're probably creating amongst yourselves right now. And because this has all been co-created by all of you, that there's a little bit of protectiveness too, and also just don't want to change that. And I'll be honest, in our network, that happens too, right? Because, you know, networks are about people and people building relationships and people getting to connect with each other in ways that they feel safe and that they can have candid conversations. So we've just actually grown our steering committee and had some really interesting conversations around what is the culture that we are seeking to create? Where do we feel that we are likely missing perspectives beyond our own? And how do we invite those perspectives in a way that that invitation is one that hopefully whoever is interested will see an opportunity for themselves too. It's not just we're asking for something, we're also going to be giving. It goes back to that give get that I heard you say when you were first having those conversations. We spent a lot of time talking about what is the role of a network when it comes to the diversity and the equity and the inclusivity work that we do. And so we created where we sought leaders in our field who have been leaders in this work and asked them, how would you approach this? We don't want to control it. We would love to learn from you. And we would like to gain insights as to how to make invitations in a way that they are really being respectful of limited participation, that we're honoring different cultures and we're inviting participation in a way that has that give get. And so we actually have, as a part of our network, a DEI roundtable that works with our network, but also works separate so that it can help inform where we might be short-sighted, gives us insights and ideas of how we can improve in these areas, and also works with us around training too. So I'll say every time we've added people to our steering committee and our network, it has always been beneficial. And part of that was the clarity of being clear about what we were asking in expectation of participation, but also around being able to articulate culture and to identify where we felt that we had limited perspectives that we could really grow from and learn from and build our network more strongly by inviting those perspectives to join and participate.
Sounds like a network soul searching exercise of figuring out who we are and what is needed to be whole, as you're describing it. So thank you very much. Really appreciated hearing from you and being in conversation with you. I was going to close, but Michael, you turn on your video, so I just want to check with you if you wanted to say something or ask a question. You're good. All right. Okay, and so thank you, Sharon, and we want to give everyone an opportunity to get into a breakout and have some time together. We'd love for you, Sharon, to stay and join our breakout discussion and really continue and think about what is collaboration and partnership looks like. Where have you identified those opportunities of give and get, where the relationship can enrich the work that you're doing and connect with what others are doing in who have joined us in this forum conversation. And so I think we'll do again 4 breakouts, Tommy, if we can do that. And we'll do that until 3 o'clock, and then we're going to come back and with Kamiar have some closing. And Cami and Tommy, you're muted, but I'm assuming
sorry.
you're setting us up.
Yep. So
Okay, thank you.
for 23 minutes by the time I start, and then if you're having issues or folks in your room leave, just come back to the main room and I'll switch you over to the other one. So have fun. And then Samantha, I'll move you into a room here. Just give me just a second. So let's see, go to 1. So Samantha, you should be able to go, and then Stacy, same thing. I'll move you over to 1. And then Eric and Iman, I'll send you over to 4. Hey Chase, were you not able to join a room?
Yeah, hey, it just wasn't really working. Do you mind putting me in a different one?
Yeah, which room did you come from? Let me see if I can.
I think it was 3.
It was 3, so let's, do you want to be in the same room with Sharon? Or Dirk?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, that's room 2. So let me find you back here. Chase, move to 2. All right, you should be good. Michael, welcome back. What room would you like to go to?
Just one where people are talking.
Oh,
Like
nobody was,
3.
who's not talking? Room 3 is not talking?
Yeah, I think there's no one talking there.
Oh, neat. You
I mean,
want,
I could have started the talking, but I was just go.
yeah. You want to go in with Dirk and Sharon?
Sure.
All right, room 2. Let me find your name here. There it is. Room 2. There you go. Hi, Roger. I hear room 3 is not doing much talking. I'll move you to another room. I'll try room 1 and you let me know if that works for you. And if not, just come back and I'll move you to a different room.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, room 1. Here you go, sir.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, and when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. I just one look at you,
Test 1, 2, 3.
and I know it's gonna be a lovely
Hi, it's truly a pleasure to be addressing the Flood March for
sentimental fool don't see, trying hard to recreate what had yet to be created. Once in her life, she musters a smile for his nostalgic tale. Never coming near what he wanted to say, only to realize it never really was. She had a place in his life. He never made her think twice. As she rises to her apology, anybody else would surely know. He's watching her go. What a fool he sees. The wise man has the power to reason away what seems to be is always better than nothing, and nothing at all. Keep sending him somewhere back in long ago, where he can still believe there's a place in her life. Someday, somewhere, she will return. She had a place in his life. He never made her think twice. As she rises to her apology, anybody else would surely know. He's watching her go. What a fool believes.
Hello, Lynn. Hello, Shelby. Did you guys want to go to another room, or are you just going to hang out till everybody comes back in? Should be able to unmute yourselves right now as well.
I was just gonna wait till everyone gets back. There's only a couple minutes left.
Okay. Very good. Do you mind if I have a little music in the background?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. All right, welcome back, everyone.
All right. Okay. I think everybody's back, right? So we had a great breakout. I hope everybody had a really good conversation in your breakouts and made connections and made those commitments to participate in our lunchmar and our network upcoming. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Kamyar, to wrap up our forum.
Well, actually, if I understand the program correctly, Secretary Karen Ross is going to do the heavy lifting for us to wrap up the forum. And I'm here to help introduce her. And I don't know, Tommy, if is the next slide Karen Ross's slide. So I think maybe we switch to that one while I introduce her.
Yeah, hold on just a sec. Let me. So I have a slide in between, but we can advance it and I can come back to it. So this is what I had, but
let's go back. Let's go with this one right now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
No problem.
And thank you very much. So first of all, I want to let you know that Secretary Karen Ross with California Department of Food and Ag can't be with us live today. Yet she absolutely wanted to be part of the Floodmar Public Forum. And she has been in all three of them now, and a big supporter and proponent of the work that we're all doing. So she recorded a video that we will now share with you. I did have the opportunity to watch it earlier, and I'll just say, wow. But let me introduce her. Her bio is certainly on the participants' webpage, so I'm not going to read it in its entirety. It's quite long, rightfully so. But what, Secretary Karen Ross was appointed way back a decade ago by then Governor Jerry Brown to head up Department of Food and Ag. And she was re-upped by Governor Newsom. She has in her bio that for her, it all began as a 4-H kid, that's her words, on a Nebraska farm. And since then, and right before being our Food and Ag Secretary, she was the Chief of Staff of U.S. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack. She was the president of the California Association of Wine Grape Growers from 1996 to 2009. And I recall at that time, she, I'm sure, was a big part of transforming the wine grape growers to be now recognized as leading edge on sustainability. She was also the vice president of the Agricultural Council of California from 89 to 96. She wants people to know that she's passionate about fostering the reconnection of food consumers, all of us, to the land and the people who produce our food. And to make sure that people in California, all Californians, have access to healthy and nutritious agricultural products. And she, and I've experienced this directly as part of working on water and the water resilience portfolio and the water action plan before that. She is a huge supporter of strong partnerships across government, bringing in academia, NGOs, and the farming community. And it's all about improving environmental stewardship and coming up with adaptation strategies to overcome the impacts of climate change. She really is advancing opportunities for farmers and ranchers to engage in sustainable environmental stewardship practices while they grow our food. And she's been a huge proponent of improving the food that gets served in our schools' cafeterias as part of CDFA's Farm to Fork program. So with that, we'll go and listen to Secretary Ross's video.
Hi, it's truly a pleasure to be addressing the Floodmar Forum once again. I was so happy to hear that we were doing Floodmar Forum again this year. I think it's been almost 3 years since the first one was convened. It was so successful and created tremendous momentum around this very important strategy, one of many that we'll need to secure our water future for the state of California. Our water challenges have never been easy, and they're not getting any easier. But it's by coming together and working together in a collaborative way, like this forum has inspired, that really will help us be successful in the face of climate change and what appears to be yet another drought here in California. We need to continue to take actions today that help lay the foundation for a future success. And that means especially being able to conserve as much of this precious resource as we possibly can for the future generations that will follow us. The Newsom administration released the Water Resilience Portfolio in 2020. It's an impressive document. It pulled together so many separate data points and actually listed 100 specific recommendations that were needed to be able to secure our future for water in California. That portfolio sets the direction for the state and creates a collective recognition of what is necessary for us to manage this important resource at the regional level as well as statewide as we build our climate resilience and adaptability throughout the state of California. That's important for the benefit of our people, for our communities, for the environment, and our economy. And we all know groundwater recharge is an essential part of the California future. FloodMAR, using floodwater for managed aquifer recharge, can be an additional tool and voluntary management strategy to help us achieve that successful outcome. When I look at California's working and natural landscapes, especially our farms and our ranches, I know the significant potential that we have to not only address climate challenges through building our soil health and sequestering carbon, but also in providing large-scale groundwater recharge in significantly wet years, because we do know wet years will happen. It's part of the modeling. It shows us what we need to be prepared for. How do we capture those peak flows? How do we store it? And then how do we bring it back in those times of need? For FloodMAR to be an effective resource management strategy, especially on our working lands, we need to know several variables, including soil types. What are the best soil types? Where are they? What are the right regions? What are the crop types? What are all those other variables that we need to know, identify through research, put into trials on the ground to equip our farmers, our ranchers, and other land use managers to be able to successfully recharge our groundwater basins? We've made significant progress in this regard. We are so fortunate in the state of California with the public university systems that we have. That's a call out to our friends at the University of California and all of our California state universities. They've done great work, but so have environmental groups and nonprofit organizations and community-based organizations working with farmers and ranchers. These kinds of challenges demand that we work together and collaborate, and I have seen that throughout the last decade. When we look at that potential, we think about our permanent crops. This state has almost 2 million acres of tree nuts. Those are going to be there for a minimum of 25 years, in the case of our walnut trees, for as many as 70 years. But we also have over 840,000 acres of grapes. That's huge potential, almost 3 million acres, where we can identify strategies and help a farmer understand and have the tools to be able to make a decision to do on-farm groundwater recharge. I know we're up for that challenge, and I know that we've got the partnerships to help make it happen. Within the agricultural community, it's also important that we continue to invest in technical assistance and identifying and closing those research gaps to make this practicable on a large landscape basis. We also need to recognize that agriculture, these working landscapes, can recharge our groundwater basins and ensure that future generations will be able to continue growing California food, healthy, nutritious, high quality. Groundwater recharge is important to maximize the amount of groundwater that can be pumped in our future. So the work we do today is very important to that sustainability. I want to close by thanking you all for your participation and for your engagement these last 3 days. I can hardly wait to see what the final report is, what the recommendations are, and if there are some new strategies or tools that are identified through this process. I want to recognize how important it is that we've all been here working together, and to thank you for the inclusiveness of having our tribal partners at the table, sharing their experiences and understanding the centuries-old practices that they've used to help us with managing our working and natural landscapes. I also want to give a special shout out and thank you to our students and young professionals. As you probably saw before this forum, but hopefully inspired you in this forum, your future is bright. We need you. We need your energy. We need your intellect. We need your enthusiasm for solving some of the most challenging issues that we face in the state of California. How to survive and thrive in climate change and secure a water future to be able to continue to enhance our communities, our quality of life, our food and fiber production, and our environment. In closing, I want to say thank you. I appreciate your work. You are great leaders, and we will need you. We will need you as champions and problem solvers, collaborators and partners. I appreciate all that you've done in planning this. Thank you, organizers. Executing this forum, coming together with your best thinking, even when the challenges of conversations can get a little bit difficult. Your work here matters, and it will help us be the success that I know is possible by working together. Good luck.
So I'll say it again, wow. And it sounded even better the second time. So here's what we want to do. This is no longer the wrap up. I think Secretary Ross did the perfect wrap up of this forum. What I'd like us to do from now to the end till 3:30 is what I would call reflections. So I'm going to share my reflections of these 3 days. And then I would ask Tommy, then we'll go to full gallery mode. And I want to invite each and every one of you who can to turn on your video. And we go to open mic. And certainly we can use the hand raise to make sure everyone gets a turn. But then invite each and every one of you to express your reflections of this year's Floodmar Public Forum. So this slide is one of my favorite. And if you've seen any of my presentations about Floodmar, you couldn't have missed it. This flower diagram to me is a really great illustration of the many different water sectors that we have in California. And traditionally, and even today, the sectors tend to work on the periphery of their sector petals. And you probably see that's where there's little or no overlap between them. And to really move toward managing California's water for sustainability and resilience, we've got to find ways to get these sectors to move toward the center of this flower where there's much more overlap. And that's what we refer to as integrated watershed management, or as Abdul Khan suggested during yesterday's tribal water story session, connecting the land, the water, and the people. And to get that done, what I heard during these 3 days over and over and over again is that it's going to require big collaboration, agency alignment at all levels of government, and the water sectors not just communicating and coordinating, but co-managing our water resources at a watershed scale. And what that'll do is bring multiple sectors together, bring their multiple disciplines to bear to plan multi-benefit projects, and then knit together their pots of money to implement them. So with that, Tommy, let's please go to gallery mode, and I invite you to share your thoughts. Thank you.
I'll go first. I won't be shy. I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you. I know 2.5 days plus almost 3 days virtually is a lot to ask. But I think that it just shows the commitment and dedication and enthusiasm for this topic that all of us have, and recognition that this is an important water strategy for California moving into the future. And, we've talked a lot about collaboration. And so I would hope in advance of the next forum 2 years from now, we all focus on what we can do to support implementation of flood-mar projects, make connections, work with folks on this forum, on this network, to develop partnerships, to progress implementation. So if something's caught your attention today, I would challenge everyone to reach out to 2 people by email, by phone call, by chat, and talk about their work. And make connections and see if there's something that we can do together to expand what we're thinking, what we're doing, what we're implementing. We'll come back 2 years from now with lots more to talk about, lots more connections, lots more on the ground demonstration projects. So thank you for your time. Thank you for attending. Most appreciated.
So I raised my
Go
hand,
ahead.
so
Yeah.
I'll go. I'm not going to talk about the content, but I'll talk about my experience. Last 3 days, there were a lot of information, a lot of interaction, but to me, it seemed like sort of watching the Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones movie. The time passed so quickly. I did not realize that I was in front of my computer from 9 to 4:30, 5:30. So that explains, to me at least, how good this forum was. Thank you.
Thanks, Abdul. Graham, you want to go next?
Yeah, I have similar reaction. It's been, I said yesterday, the previous day was beautiful, and the subsequent 2 days were as well. It's been very enjoyable, and it reaffirms that I think this is indeed a network that is worth being a part of, and I'm proud to be a part of. I had 2 overarching thoughts that I thought might be worth sharing right now. One occurred to me today concerning the state board's regulations. And it occurred to me that there's a need for the state board to get feedback continuously on what's working and what's not working. And that this could be an important role for this network to do. Because we already have a connection to the state board, we can contact the state board. And as problems arise that we notice that we would like to be addressed by the state board, it seems like this would be the perfect pipeline for conveying that information. So that's one thing. The other thing is, and I wanted to ask Kamyar this yesterday, as the head of planning at DWR, you put together you and your team, the California Water Plan. So what is my question or thought is the role of flood-mar in the California Water Plan? Is there a role? One would think that if this flood-mar has a huge potential for dealing with California's water problems, that one would want to make it an integral part of the water plan, and what information is needed to do that. I assume one would need estimates of the raw potential of flood-mar for dealing with California's water issues. Is that going to happen? Is it something that this network could help get into substantively into the California Water Plan? So that might be something for a much longer discussion, but I thought it was, to me, it seemed important enough that if we're talking about aligning with agencies or connecting with agencies, that those two issues that I just mentioned, the state board and DWR and the California Water Plan, could be important things in terms of our activities and how moving forward we can make a bigger difference. I'll stop there.
Thanks, Graham. Camille, did you want to say anything? Doesn't have to be a big response, but just before we go to Adam, anything?
Well, I mean, in short, I'd say absolutely agree with the outcome of having information in update 2023 of the water plan related to floodmar. And we are looking at three central themes in this update of the water plan. One is climate adaptation. The other is watershed resilience. And the third is equity. And I think floodmar lives in all three of those. So there's ample opportunity and context to do that. And it's certainly our intention to report the findings of the Merced watershed study and other similar study information that's available in that context.
Will you be trying to provide estimates of how much state's water deficit could be potentially addressed with floodmar, or is it, you think it's too early to do that?
I think it would be somewhat anecdotal. I don't know that we have the technical studies that could come up with that, but we're open. If Floodmar Network feels there's information that should be considered and reported in the water plan, we're listening.
All right. Thanks, Graham. I think this is something to follow up on as we're moving forward. Adam, go ahead.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. Incredible forum. Thank you, DWR, for putting this on. Thank you for spearheading this effort. One of the things that I learned working with Phil in the Cultivating Knowledge Initiative is just how willing people are to share their experiences, how eager they are to learn and to connect. So I think this network is really in the right place at the right time to really help, not just Floodmar in general, but sustainability, achieving that. So really connecting different parties that are involved in just achieving sustainability in addition to Floodmar. And then finally, I just wanted to reflect on one point in terms of Orange County's experience. What has helped us achieve sustainability for so long is the incredible trust that we have with our groundwater producers. And so I think this is one thing that Floodmar Network can really help do, is to really try and help build trust amongst all the parties involved. And DWR, being kind of a neutral party, really has a good role, a good space to be in to help build that trust. And trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's difficult to get back. So I think this is a real great opportunity for us to move things along and build trust and achieve our goals. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. We have time for a couple more. Anybody else want to share their just overall impressions? How you feel at 3:30 after 3 days of forum?
I have something to share, Dirk. I am so happy that it's been raining. I've been so sick and tired of smoke, ashes, and dust. And the earth got a long, deep drink, and it put out the fires at the right place at the right time. That was the only thing that was going to put these fires out, a weather event. So all your thoughts and prayers for rain, it made a huge difference. And I hope we get 10 feet of snow up in the Sierra Nevada, up and down the state. And I hope and pray that it doesn't cause and ruin that much as far as erosion and flooding. But we got to work together. And if you can be part of that team to take care of the land after impacts like that, then so be it. But work locally, make your resources available. And again, it's all about the water. It'll come down into the valley, into the flatlands eventually. But you got to take care of it. Take care of the mountains. Take care of your water. Thank you.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you. Yeah, we just to say, and I know that Tommy's going to put a kind of a word cloud for us for just kind of like a last thing to just add a word of what it's all been like for you. And just to say that it's as a facilitator and been working with Jenny and the planning team now for quite a while and getting this ready, it really has been amazing to see all the expertise and knowledge and all the great work that everybody's doing, and just the thinking and the passion and intention that is driving all the work that everyone is doing. It's really inspiring and really appreciate being part of that. Thank you, Jenny and DWR, but mostly Jenny. And I hope that you all take away that your perspective, your voice, your participation is critical for us moving forward together. Putting all those pieces together that everybody brings with them is really important. So thank you, everyone. And Tommy, do you want to put the last word cloud for us just for fun?
And while Tommy's doing that, I'd like to thank you, Orit, and Tommy, and the entire CSU team, and all the planners and organizers.
Great. Oh, it looks like some of you are already responding. Excellent. And we do have a follow-up. Adam, thanks for a reminder. Just a little note. Tommy, do you want to go to the next slide? It's a bit of an advertisement, and then we can come back to it.
Yep. Hold on just a sec.
Yeah. It's good to see that collaboration is the big word. I think we've done our part. Trust, equity. There we go. So that's Adam, I think you put that in the chat, April 11th through the 15th, 2022. Manage Aquifer Recharge International Symposium. All right. You can put our cloud back. Just want to say thank you, everyone. Hope you have a nice evening and really looking forward to our next conversations. Thank you all for participating and being here.
Have a great day.
Thanks all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay healthy.
Thank you all.